we learned yesterday as the first part of this seminar was to deliver a cut which can occasionally even hit the opponent over the shield. And this is one of the reasons why we consider this like the primary cut in the system, or in shield systems like these, to hit your opponent. And we do it by lifting the sword handle, so the point almost like pulled automatically towards the target, and while it does so, we have a slight lift of the hand, and then we lead the sword handle here. And at this moment, and especially with a top-heavy sword, the blade falls into place, something like this. And as you can see, because I have the inverted hand, it allows me to raise it high. I can get above the shield, I can also get behind the shield, with getting more to my left side now, so like this. And I have these two options.
So you see he's lifting his hand, when what he wants to do is he wants to create a scale motion where the sword turns around its natural pivot point. So this pivot point here, this is where the tip of the blade rotates around, and that is what creates the actual impact. So there's no transfer of body power or any muscle strength into that blow, which is what makes it extremely peculiar, and which is why it feels effortless on his end, while here it creates quite an impact.
So this is like the core motion, but we have this forward bit before, then I turn the sword in my hand to get into reverse grip, roughly in its axis, something like this. And I combine all of these things, bit forward movement, turning in the axis, and then raising the hand up like this into something a bit like an ox position, but we have the cross guard aligned in a slightly different way.
And note that by raising your hands forward and to the side, and the side motion, maybe if you go to the starting position, you see his hand moves to the side. This is crucial to form a barrier in space, so that if I strike here, even though he hits me, he's also safeguarded. Yeah? The more the sword hand is to the center line, the less of a guard there is. All right, so it's crucial. Another disadvantage of striking only in front of your head, if you see it in the profile, if
this profile.
Yeah. if the scale works in front of your head, so you see the scale has very limited range of motion, because in front of your head you cannot raise your hand as high as slightly further out. So if the hand is here, you can raise it much higher, which means that this pivoting motion is much bigger, and thus the acceleration of the point as it hits, as it creates its impact, is much stronger.
So in fact, it's the way or the distance that my hand travels from here to here. So if it was just in front of me, this would be less distance to cover than here, and all of this movement leads into the acceleration of a point. So, yeah. Okay, what does it look like?
And what does it sound like?
What does it sound like? If you want to get familiar to this, to the satisfying plock sound that it does on the mask of your opponent. So. As you notice, usually my blade bounces slightly off when I do this. This is a sign for me having my hand relatively relaxed. In this case, I leave the blade the ability to, let's say, absorb the impact. It can, let's say, bounce back. I'm not like forcing the whole thing into the target and let the blade there. It's good eventually if you do it with other kinds of techniques. This could lead to breaking blades, for instance, if you just force them into the target instead of let them do their own job.
There's you also have to consider this in context, yeah, because this blow is not designed for producing a particular sound on a modern fencing mask. It's designed to slice off part of the skull, and you don't want to stop it when it's stuck in the skull. It's almost like you try to stop a whip. It just doesn't make sense. You rather let the tool do the job and don't use any unrequired effort by trying to lock it.
But the sound, again, is or can be an indicator for the right execution of the blow if you really keep your hands sort of relaxed. Okay, where did we employ this technique yesterday? The concept we had is that one fencer is like retreating into first ward, the other one is besieging him with a half shield. And if then he doesn't respond to this pressure, by establishing a bind for instance, I follow with this kind of cut. So we just simulate, we've just, let's say, come close to each other, and Roland is now retreating into first ward. This is my obsessio. And now, either while he's retreating, or now when I see that he is really hesitating, I can follow with this thrust. This. As you can see, I tend to turn my shield slightly like this, in front of the hand. In the book, it's depicted like this, usually. So, we both have a plan to attack from a certain ward. I have a plan, but before I can do that, Roland is going into first ward, and I notice, okay, how can I, let's say, put pressure on him? It was half shield, and he's not doing anything, and I'm executing this cut.
There's a plate in the book where you can see one such blow in development being counted, a plate that we for a long time could not make much sense of, but when you follow our suggestion that the majority of strikes in sword and shield fencing, and in 133 in particular, is actually this kind of refined, sophisticated Sturzhau, then this plate suddenly makes sense. So if I'm the half shielder versus his first ward, and he falls under sword and shield, and I start to counterbind, but do not actually not employ a shield strike, and do, as it says in the book, use the blow that the common fencer is accustomed to use in that situation, then he, as the party that has fallen under sword and shield, is advised to employ a stichslac. And this particular situation is shown on a plate later in the book. And we're now going to reverse positions. So now he's the first warder who is going to counter my blow that the common fencer is accustomed to use in that situation. We're going to do it at a reduced pace so that I can first guide you through the process. This is just to show you that we consider this particular technique a confirmation of our suggestions. Yeah? Okay, so I'm besieging him with half shield. He is falling from his first ward. He's falling under sword and shield. And as I feel I have secured his sword, I'm going to deliver Sturzhau, and then he's going to counter that by just raising his point straight into my face. And in that position we will stop, so you can later compare it to the according plate. From the position where his sword is here, lifting it while I'm in the process of striking this blow. And you can see that his sword is aligned towards my face, and his blade makes contact with my arm. Alright, so this is just, yes, there's a question?
Is that enough to stop a Sturzhau already in motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because it's just so super fast. We have tried various versions. We have tried to for the party coming from first ward to follow the sword. So we do it slowly. So I have come to my half shield, I secure it, and now so we have tried this too, but it doesn't feel that it gives much of an advantage. What safeguards him in his position is that his hands are high, that as he thrusts toward me, it's safeguard, the hands have to be high, and the head must not, you must not duck. If you duck, I can still hit you. Yeah? If you keep a straight posture, it's impossible. So, and he will usually get me because the path of his blade is shorter. He will get me before my blow even comes to conclusion. Yeah?
What also is probably not so well visible from the side is that I'm positioning my blade not only high in this direction, I'm also placing it somewhere in the middle. I'm just going to be very low. So if this comes, so it's over by, I'm going here basically. So it's not only that I'm high up and he could still execute it, I'm also like blocking it from this.
And so he's forming this particular wedge against. So he's forming this wedge against that protects him, that we were talking about yesterday.
So, and if indeed this wasn't enough to stop the cut, I could always adjust it with my shield a bit or retreat immediately afterwards, so this would still be an option.
Good. So this is just for you to see that there are indications in 133 that the blow that is even used, and that's interesting, by the common fencer was a standard. All right? Good. Okay, thank you so much for recording, and we continue with the training now.